Thank you for listening to Fate Weaver. Chapter 45. An Execution. As Cyrus and his brave crew of fighters pushed forward on their perilous journey towards the mysterious mountains, the landscape surrounding them began to transform. The rolling hills and thick forests gave way to a stunning little town nestled in a verdant valley. This delightful village, located halfway between their starting point and their ultimate destination, beckoned to the exhausted adventurers, offering a glimmer of hope and rest in the midst of a treacherous wilderness. As soon as they entered the village, the group was met with the lively bustle of cobblestone streets overflowing with activity. The air was thick with the tantalizing aroma of freshly baked bread and mouth-watering meat roasting on spits at busy market stalls. The sound of chatter and laughter filled the air between the charming buildings that lined the roads. Yet this vibrant atmosphere was abruptly shattered by a disquieting spectacle taking place in the heart of the village square. The band of adventurers could hear a tumultuous uproar and turned their heads to the source of the commotion. There, they witnessed a young woman, her hands bound behind her back, kneeling before the judgment of the local magistrate, surrounded by a jeering crowd. The charges against her were of thievery, and the punishment for such crimes was a quick but brutal beheading. Cyrus and his group could not stand idly by and watch this unfold. The young woman, with her straight red hair fluttering in the wind like a flickering flame, stood firmly on a wooden platform, tightly bound. Her eyes, filled with a combination of steel-like determination and barely hidden terror, quickly shifted between the mocking crowd and the intimidating executioner looming over her. As the dark outline of the executioner's axe ominously cast its shadow over the area, the once cheerful mood was replaced by an atmosphere of anxiety and fear. The villagers had congregated to witness the grotesque spectacle, their faces twisted with a disturbing mix of contempt and morbid curiosity. Cyrus felt his heart pounding in his chest, realizing he could not stand by and watch this horrific injustice unfold. The familiar call of adventure rang out in his head, and without a second thought, Cyrus knew he had to step forward and rescue this frightened girl from certain death. The 5 members of the Company of the Crescent Blades could see the fierce look in their lord's eyes, and they knew that he was on the verge of unsheathing his weapons. In the village where Cyrus grew up, no one was ever executed. It was a completely alien form of punishment. If someone committed a grave offense, they were simply exiled. The family ties that supported them would be cut, and they would be marked as outcasts and left to survive on their own in the wilderness. With boldness and unwavering determination, Cyrus strode towards the heart of the crowd. The villagers stepped back, their eyes widening in astonishment and expectation. In a commanding voice that reverberated through the tense silence, he spoke to the gathering, fixing his gaze on the village magistrate. "Stop this execution immediately," he ordered, his voice brimming with the weight of authority. Cyrus, his brow furrowed in concern, turned to the magistrate and inquired, "What crime has this young woman committed to warrant such a harsh punishment?" The magistrate, with a dismissive wave of his hand, recounted the thief's alleged transgressions: petty thefts, pilfering food and trinkets from the local vendors. The older man continued, "This was not her first offense and was caught in the act. She cannot deny the charges, and the punishment is death. This is the law of Emberstaff, and it is not only a punishment for her but a public display to warn others of the village that actions have immediate and severe consequences." In response, Cyrus gestured towards the young woman, emphasizing her youth and the potential for redemption that still lay before her. Surely the value of the item stolen pales in comparison to the years of good she could do in this world under the right guidance, he reasoned. Cyrus was using every ounce of his charm to try and persuade the villagers. He gazed directly at them as he spoke, knowing that if he could sway the easily swayed townsfolk, then he would not have to contend with the obstinate magistrate. "These items have already been returned to their rightful owners, so no real harm was done. However, your magistrate is correct that a significant price must be paid for her actions." From his money pouch, He produced a large, glimmering gemstone that shone red in the sunlight. The countless facets reflected a mesmerizing rainbow of colors that danced across the amazed faces of the onlookers. The previously bloodthirsty crowd fell silent, entranced by the unexpected turn of events and the stunning brilliance of the precious stone. This gemstone was worth more than most of the villagers could have made in a lifetime. I will pay this price to the village, and they can do whatever they want with the profits from the stone. The condition of this payment is that I will take her into my company, thereby relieving the village of her troublesome presence. Despite the villagers' concerns about the imposing figures of Clang and Cyrus who were accompanying the young woman, Cyrus was undeterred. One brave man even spoke out. I believe it would be more merciful for her to face justice now, instead of whatever torments those two giants may have planned for her. Unfazed by their doubts, Cyrus demanded that Clang and Cyrus reveal the truth to the magistrate. With only a few of the village men, they went to the nearest building and discovered that they were eunuchs, made so by Lord Cyrus himself, and now serving him with unwavering loyalty and dedication. With this revelation, the villagers' lingering fears began to dissipate. The magistrate, now fully convinced of Cyrus's honorable intentions, agreed to the arrangement. As the final condition of her release, Cyrus gave one of his stunning jewels as payment for her freedom. The once condemned thief now stood on the brink of a new life, her fate forever changed by the kindness of a stranger and his team of unlikely heroes. With ease, Cyrus cut the ropes binding the thief, and as their eyes met, he saw the mixture of gratitude and fierce determination burning within her. In a silent exchange, she vowed to repay his generosity, and from that moment on became the newest member of the heroic company of the Crescent Blades. This unexpected addition not only bolstered their ranks, but also injected their expedition with a new sense of mystery and potential. The young thief's well-honed skills and street smarts would no doubt prove to be invaluable as the group faced the numerous challenges that awaited them on their treacherous journey towards the enigmatic, far-off mountains. Chapter 46. Emberstaff. The company of the Crescent Blades, now bolstered by the addition of Lillian, set about gathering essential supplies from the village of Emberstaff. They carefully selected sturdy ropes, durable jerky, and other necessities such as flint and steel, lantern oil and waterproof canvas for their upcoming adventure. Furthermore, they secured medical supplies, including healing herbs and bandages, as well as extra arrows for their archers, Eamon and Gavrik. As they prepared, they couldn't help but notice the wary eyes of the villagers, who still regarded Lillian with a mix of disdain and suspicion. Recognizing the potential for danger, Cyrus decided that it would be best for Lillian to remain within the cabin wagon while they were still in the village. The main reasoning was to protect her from any animosity that might escalate into violence, but they also had a major problem haggling better prices with her in their midst. Cyrus approached Lillian with a somber expression, explaining that for her own safety, she must stay inside the cabin wagon to avoid drawing the ire of the villagers. Though initially resistant to the idea, she eventually recognized the wisdom in his words and reluctantly agreed. She retreated to the wagon, her pride wounded, but her determination unshaken. Clang was appointed to stay with the cabin and supplies that they had to guard everything they had gained thus far. The rest of the group, aware of the delicate balance that had been struck within the village, remained watchful and vigilant, ensuring the safety of their newest member. As they continued to gather supplies, the members of the company of the Crescent Blades couldn't help but overhear the villagers' grumblings about the magistrate's ruling. There were many differing opinions. Some believed the decision would set a dangerous precedent, allowing those with wealth to buy their way out of trouble. Others argued that the death penalty was far too harsh for a crime as minor as stealing baubles and bread, and that a more lenient punishment would have been more appropriate. As the group went about their business, they also overheard heated discussions about how the village should use the money gained from the transaction. The sum was significant enough that each villager would receive a small windfall, equivalent to the cost of an expensive dinner. Ideas for the use of the funds were diverse. Some suggested building a church as a testament to the all-seeing God that protected them, while others argued for renovating the town square. A faction even proposed constructing a town-owned inn to draw in commerce and boost the village economy. These debates only served to underscore the complexity of the situation, as the villagers grappled with the implications of the magistrate's decision and the unexpected wealth it had brought them. It was obvious that the newfound town fortune was being used as a means to enact old vengeances and arbitrary views alike. Through it all, the company of the Crescent Blades remained focused on their mission, undeterred by the myriad opinions and controversies swirling around them. Tensions within the village of Emberstaff escalated as villagers passionately debated how to use the money gained from Cyrus's gem. Heated arguments filled the air, and it became increasingly clear that these disagreements could soon devolve into physical violence. Reflecting on the situation, Cyrus couldn't help but wonder if he had made a mistake in offering up the gem, which had cost him only a few moments of concentration to obtain, but now threatened to plunge the village into a small-scale civil war. Despite his concerns, he remained steadfast in his belief that saving Lillian was the right thing to do, and he would make the same decision again if faced with the same circumstances. With the day growing increasingly stressful, and the atmosphere in the village becoming ever more hostile, Cyrus decided it would be best for the company of the Crescent Blades to find comfortable accommodations for the night. Knowing that it would be some time before they had the luxury of sleeping in proper beds again, the group sought out the local inn. However, they were met with suspicious and resentful glares from the villagers, who now blamed Cyrus for their newfound troubles. Upon arriving at the local inn, the company of the Crescent Blades encountered the innkeeper, a grizzled man whose anger was palpable. He was extremely upset about the talk of a new, town-owned inn that would likely ruin him financially and destroy the legacy he had worked his entire life to maintain. His family had owned and operated the inn for generations, and in one brief instant, Cyrus's actions had put its future in jeopardy. The innkeeper, unable to contain his frustration and resentment, refused to allow the group to stay at his establishment and demanded that they leave the town immediately. The company of the Crescent Blades, taking the innkeeper's harsh words to heart, decided not to cause further trouble within the village. Resolved to continue their journey, they prepared to leave Emberstaff behind. Lillian, however, mentioned that she needed to retrieve her valuables before departing for good. While the group offered her an armed escort, she firmly declined, asserting her need to prove her strength and independence to her new companions. She would be offended, she said, if they doubted her ability to fend for herself. During their brief time together, Lillian had shown a keen interest in the ornate map Cyrus possessed and the prospect of the treasure it might lead to. The thrill of a treasure hunt appealed to her adventurous spirit. With a determined nod, the young woman left the group to attend to her personal matters. As she disappeared into the village, Cyrus couldn't help but wonder if she would choose not to return. He accepted that possibility but kept his thoughts to himself. He told Lillian that if she decided to rejoin them, she would have to catch up, as the group would not wait for her. The company of the Crescent Blades left Emberstaff behind, their eyes fixed on the path ahead and the challenges that lay in store. Roughly 3 hours into their journey, the darkness of night had completely enveloped the land. The celestial spectacle of the white dwarf star's iris closing left only the faint illumination of the distant Three Sisters in the sky. The group lit torches to guide their way, the flickering flames casting eerie shadows on the road. As they rode forward, the sound of horse hooves in the darkness reached their ears. The men readied themselves for a potential encounter, nerves on edge. Suddenly, a familiar voice rang out, piercing the gloom. It was Lillian. Relief washed over the group as she emerged from the shadows, having chosen to rejoin the company of the Crescent Blades on their perilous quest. As soon as Lillian was settled in the driver's seat of Cyrus's wagon, Queen announced that he had successfully completed another quest. This was great news, but he felt like he needed to have a heart-to-heart with his AI companion. This entire quest thing that she enjoyed needed to change. He walked to his cabin, getting his thoughts straight along the way. Cyrus engaged in a fully mental conversation with Queen. This way he could express exactly how he felt, without having to search for words to describe it. He reflected on his deep understanding of the quest system and its role in his development. He marveled at the incredible growth in his intellect since embarking on this journey, a growth that had transformed him in more ways than he could have imagined. He acknowledged the vital role Queen played in connecting with his subconscious thoughts, using them to enhance his understanding and abilities, both physically and mentally. However, Cyrus now believed that he had progressed far enough to move beyond the symbolic nature of quests. He expressed his desire to embrace Queen's guidance and protection fully, relying on her wisdom and expertise without the need for quests as a conduit. His trust in Queen was unwavering, and he was confident that she would help him navigate the time stream, allowing him to grow powerful enough to save his family. That was his most important goal. Cyrus's conviction in their partnership had solidified, and he felt ready to face the challenges that lay ahead, knowing that Queen would be with him every step of the way. Queen congratulated him on making this huge leap in his thought process. She agreed and said she would make some changes to the program while Cyrus slept. All he had to do was keep accepting her, and when he woke up, the changes would be complete. Then he would be able to become even more powerful than he was now. Cyrus crawled into his giant feather bed and drifted off to sleep. He repeated, "I accept you," over and over again like a meditative mantra. Chapter 47. Body Snatcher. Queen woke up before the sun rose, stretched her arms wide and concentrated. Suddenly, a steaming cup of hot coffee appeared in front of her. She took a sip with a smile, enjoying the taste. It had been too long since she had indulged in this simple pleasure. She once again stood in front of the gilded mirror, examining her appearance. She shook her head slightly. No, this won't work at all. Her entire wardrobe shifted through the color spectrum while darkening until it got to a black that absorbed all light. Even the crescent blades at her side darkened into a deep, abysmal black. Her eyes glowed as she brought up a map display, showcasing a detailed topological map of the surrounding area. The map zoomed out, revealing a vast expanse of the star shell, with millions of structures each spanning the planet-sized 200 million perfect square miles. Queen knew she had been first, and that she had the advantage, but she needed to locate her target first. "Where are you?" she muttered as she searched the map, the blue dot representing her location moving across thousands of structures. Finally, after an hour of searching, she spotted a red dot on a structure just over 1,800 sections away. Queen knew she had several preparations to make before embarking on this journey, but she had found her first target. The sun was already high in the sky when Cyrus emerged from the cabin, and the rest of the company was already preparing for their journey ahead. They were busy saddling their horses and packing supplies for the road. They didn't realize that their lord was locked in his own mind, as they paid their respects with a warrior's salute and a brief bow of their heads. Queen called the group together, clapping her hands and urging them forward. These humans looked at each other with such confusion, she thought. They were indeed unsure of what was happening. Suddenly her commanding voice echoed across the clearing. "My patience grows thin, humans, come to me." Cyrus was the first. He dropped to one knee. "Your will, my lord, what would you have of me?" She waited for the rest of them to gather, and one at a time they dropped to a knee in respect. There was a chill in the air around their lord this morning, an aura that made each of them uncomfortable. As Lillian was the last to arrive, she stood looking at Cyrus. Queen looked the girl up and down. "Do you not bow before your lord?" Lillian was unfazed by the obvious power that resonated from the man who had saved her. She was certain that something had changed in a major way since yesterday. This was not the same man that had rescued her from a certain and gruesome death. "I have sworn no fealty to you, my lord. I am here because I owe a debt, and am grateful for your actions yesterday. Queen was not amused. You will bow before me, little girl, and you will swear your fealty now. You will swear, or you will die. I have no time to deal with flagrant insubordination. I don't care if you kneel from fear, love, ignorance, or simply as a means of self-preservation. But you will kneel. Cyrus's eyes began to glow with a blue-white fury as the wind started to pick up. Leaves swirled, and the howl of the wind quickly rose to a height that began to make it difficult to hear. Say the words, Lillian. Lillian watched as the man that was so nice yesterday, the one that had helped her and been so patient and kind with so many people, began to rise from the ground and float 2 feet above them all. Lightning began to strike and thunder pealed through the air, and then Lillian knew fear. She took a knee and said her words of fealty. As soon as she was done, Cyrus's feet touched the ground and the wind instantly ceased. The leaves floated to the ground and the sparse woodland was once again quiet. Cyrus repeated the words of acceptance. Stand, my bold warriors. I have gifts for each of you. Queen said with a large smile on her face. Her loyal men almost took a step back when they saw that smile. It was unnatural. It was like Cyrus had forgotten how to smile and was giving an over-exaggerated impersonation of a smile. Everyone draw your blades, the ones that I made for you, Queen commanded. They each did as they were told. Lillian had a long, thin needle like dirk and a sword-breaker that she carried in her worn boots. They weren't given to her by Cyrus, but she figured she may need something in case this all went downhill more than it already had. Queen closed her eyes, and the company of the crescent blades watched in fascination as black dust appeared on all the weapons. It began at the tip of each and worked its way down to the hilt. The weapons were left looking like the black clothes that Cyrus wore, black as dark as the blackest night imaginable. But the dust did not stop. It continued to their clothes and transformed each one of them into the same clothes that she wore, protective cloth armor that was both weatherproof and bulletproof. These weapons and armor will do you very well in the coming months. I must leave you for a while, Queen explained. Eldrick, you will take charge while I am away. Service and Clang will serve you as they would serve me. You will all continue training and making your way together through this world. Your duty to your lord is to build me an army, one that can shake the foundations of the land. You will go to every village, every town, every city that you come across and gain recruits and supplies. Queen handed Eldrick a small pouch. He opened it, and his eyes went wide. There were at least 20 stones that were bigger than the one they had given the people of Emberstaff. This should get you all the equipment and allow you to take care of any needs you have. Know this. Queen looked directly at Lillian. If any of you forsake me in my absence, I will hunt you down and slit your throat. Do you understand? Each of them nodded to their lord, but refused to meet the power of his gaze. They heard Eldrick make an intake of breath, and looked up to see the black dust that had changed their belongings cover Lord Cyrus, and slowly blow away in the wind until he was completely gone. They all looked at each other, then to young Eldrick. We continue forward. The map tells us where to go for whatever it is that we were looking for. It's not much to go on, but that is our current quest. They all nodded in agreement and continued getting ready for the journey, admiring their amazing new garb and wondering what other surprises this journey would bring. Thank you for listening to Fate Weaver by Elias T. Least. Feel free to subscribe to the channel for exclusive original works from this author. All donations and proceeds from this work go directly to him. Cash App $EliasLeast. Copyright 2023.